This is what people describe as the moment of truth. Daniel Belmar, the special tribunal for Lebanon's prosecutor, is expected to submit his draft indictment within 48 hours. It's widely expected that the indictment will implicate members of Hezbollah in the killing of the former Prime Minister Rafiq al-Hariri. Hezbollah rejects such accusations.
We will not allow for anyone to hurt our credibility and our dignity.
On Wednesday, 11 ministers who represent Hezbollah and their allies resigned from the government over disagreement with the Prime Minister, Saad al-Hariri, on how to deal with the tribunal's indictment. And the government collapsed as Hariri was meeting with the US president. But the fall of the Hariri government is just the tip of the iceberg, it seems. Monday morning, the Lebanese president starts political consultations to choose a new prime minister who will form a new government. The opposition, led by Hezbollah, says the opposition want a new prime minister.
We will not accept Hariri as a prime minister anymore.
Mr. Hariri's supporters say Saad al-Hariri is their only candidate.
Saad Hariri is our candidate.
But until a few hours before consultations start, both camps were still not sure who has the majority at the parliament. A hasty summit was arranged in Damascus. The Turkish Prime Minister and the Emir of Qatar will fly into the Syrian capital on Monday to meet with President Bashar al-Assad to discuss Lebanon. A last-minute effort to find an acceptable settlement that would contain the ramifications of any indictment and save Lebanon and the region of the much-anticipated troubles. Rula Amin, Al Jazeera, Beirut.
The death dumps, otherwise known as chemical trails, are being dropped and sprayed throughout the United States, in England, Scotland, Ireland, Northern Europe, and I have personally seen them not only in the United States but in Mexico and Canada. Birds are dying around the world. Fish are dying by the hundreds of thousands around the world. This is genocide. This is poison. This is murder by the United Nations. This element within our society that's doing this must be stopped. I happen to know of 2 of the locations where the airplanes are that dump this crap on us. 4 of the planes are out of Air National Guard, Lincoln, Nebraska, and the other planes are out of Fort Still, Oklahoma. I personally have observed the planes that were standing still in Nebraska, Lincoln, Nebraska, at the Air National Guard. They have no markings on them. They're huge, bomber-like airplanes with no markings. This is a crime against humanity, crime against America, crime against the citizens of this great country. They must be stopped. What is wrong with Congress? This has an effect on their population and their people and their friends and their relatives and themselves. What's wrong with them? What's wrong with the pilots who are flying these airplanes? They're dumping this crap, this poison, on their own families. Somebody has to do something about it. Somebody in Congress has to step forward and stop it now. Thank you. I'm Ted Gunderson.
Author of the book, Callous Disregard, Autism and Vaccines, The Truth Behind a Tragedy. Good morning. Thanks for coming in this morning. You call it the truth behind a tragedy, but Dr. Besser summarized the case against your research pretty well. Reputable journalists and scientists have looked at your original research, debunked it. 10 of your 12 fellow authors and the journal who published it retracted it. You've never replicated the results. Your license to practice medicine has been revoked. And last week, the British Medical Journal concluded this. They say clear evidence of falsification of data should now close the door on this damaging vaccine scare. Given all this, why should anyone trust what you have to say about this matter?
George, let me start by saying the allegations made by Brian Deere against me were completely false. They were completely false.
They're
there was
backed up
no
by
fraud.
The journal. They're backed up by other doctors and journalists.
There was no fraud. There was no falsification. There was no hoax. We stand by the findings that we originally reported in The Lancet. My fellow authors have not retracted from the original observations of gastrointestinal disease, a novel and very important finding in these children. What we reported was the parental history of regression following the vaccine.
And he went back and talked to the parents and found that the records don't match what they said.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did. I read the study, I read your book.
He did not do that. And in fact, when you analyze the records, as I have done meticulously, what he has done is manipulated and falsified the way in which he has compared the original general practitioner records with what we wrote. What we wrote in the Lancet is a precise replication of what the parents told us. And when you go back and check it with the original records, which I have to say, George, were not available to us at the time, those original GP records were not available to us. But when you check them, the
original records don't match what was in your study. And you look back, since you first published this study in 1998, the Lancet has walked away from it. It's been called by leading deans of medical schools the worst study they've ever written. And this important question of replication, all the other scientists who have looked at it, who have been peer-reviewed, 12 studies show no link at all, and you haven't replicated the results.
The findings that we made in the original study were of a bowel disease in children with autism. Let me make that absolutely clear. That is what has been replicated. We have replicated it. When I left the Royal Free, we'd seen over 174 patients with the same disorder.
You said at the press conference that you would not recommend, you told people not to get the MMR vaccine based on what you had found. None of the other doctors would go that far, and you manufactured a scare at a time when you were in a position to profit from it. You didn't tell people that you were being paid by the lawyer who was bringing the case, and you didn't tell people that you had set up a patent for a different vaccine so you could profit from the scare once it was set up.
No, that is wholly untrue.
That is not
untrue.
No,
it is wholly untrue. I did not stand to profit from this work at all. What I did was to respond to parental concerns. I didn't manufacture this. Parents came to me and said, this is what happened to my child.
After they were contacted by the lawyer, after they were recruited by the lawyer and other activists.
Again, this is completely false. Please, George, check your facts. Those parents know.
My facts.
The parents came to us long before there was any litigation. The first parent came to me on May the 17th, 1995. I did not even hear about lawyers until the January of the next year.
Several patients in the study had parents who came to you after they received word from the lawyer and other activists.
No, that is not true. When they were referred to Professor John Walker-Smith at the Royal Free for the investigation of their clinical symptoms, which turned out to represent a novel bowel disease that has been replicated around the world by Harvard as well as over 20 other institutions in this country.
No one's replicated the link with autism vaccine, and several people in the study had the behavioral problems connected to autism before the vaccine.
No, they didn't. No, they did not.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Global Government News. Today is Wednesday, January 19th, 2011, and I'm Darko. New listeners, please visit my website at www.ggnonline.com. That's ggnonline.com. All right, well, I was originally going to post the vaccine video, a different one that ABC made, basically another hit piece, calling the scientist and doctor who created that study, the vaccine autism link. It was basically a hit piece on him, but they both were. This dude, George Snuffleupagus, whatever the hell his name is, didn't really let him really speak give his case. He kind of just cuts him off every time. And that's part of ambush journalism as far as like interviewing people. And, they understand that they're not going to let him really get to say what he really wants to say. They'll give him a few words, but once he starts to really make a case, they'll cut him off. They'll cut the commercial. There's little tricks that they play. But basically, they've been attacking the whole vaccine and autism link since it was established. And all of a sudden, now they get some, basically, some people call them slackjaw scientists, pseudoscientists, to do whatever. Basically, it's based off how much money they get in their pockets, basically, and then they'll just write whatever conclusion they want to write, and then they come out and say, oh, it's an elaborate fraud. Okay, so everything that we said about vaccines, all the worry that parents have had about their children has all been a hoax, right? So now let's all just go back to everybody vaccinating. We got alcoholic vaccines now, we got cocaine vaccines, a new malaria vaccine, so let's just vaccinate ourselves to death, right? And in that other video, they were talking about this couple who didn't vaccinate for MMR vaccine, and they got the Hib or something like that. And the child, I don't believe it said or reported that they died. It basically just got that sickness. And so, but did it die? No. But did it risk getting autism? Yes. So what would you rather have? Autism, where your child can't even socialize anymore or think at all? Or would you rather have them go through a short period of sickness like we did for hundreds and thousands of years and get over it and build up our immunity, right? No, we have to use scare tactics like Mr. George is accusing this individual of. So, big game, and so what if he came up with a vaccine that was an alternative that was safer, right? As long as it didn't have mercury and squalene and all that other good stuff in there, then that's better, right? So he was actually not only pointing out the problem, but offering a positive solution. So, anyways, grandmother dies from swine flu after she has the jab. A grandmother of 3 thought she was safe from the swine flu, and Miss Eleanor Carruthers, 68, Maryside, became the latest victim of the outbreak on Saturday. She said, she says she's the latest victim of the outbreak. No, she's not. She's the latest victim of the shot. And she said she was seriously ill with the emphysema and lung cancer, but had the flu vaccination in October to protect her from the illness. Despite the step, she was rushed to the Royal Liverpool Hospital last week and later died. H1N1 swine flu is recorded as one of the main causes of her death. So there you go, swine flu killer, not the jab. Child flu vaccine contains mercury. This is from January 9th, 2011, from the Express out of London, I believe. And it says up to 1 million under 5s, or I guess people under 5, have been inoculated against the flu virus with controversial vaccine containing poisonous mercury, which has been reported in the news in small amounts over a long period of time is actually healthy for you. So there you go. And Bill Gates wants to register all new babies on the planet for vaccines. All right, Bill Vaccine. I might as well just call him Bill Vaccine, because every time I hear his stupid quotes now, or see him, his face on YouTube, it's always him promoting vaccines. So I guess that's what philanthropy is. Bill Gates is promoting a plan to use wireless technology to register every newborn on the planet and a vaccine database. So you can go there and check out that. Links will be posted. New malaria vaccine is promising. New experimental vaccine has shown promising results in protecting 53% of Afghan children. So keyword, I've mentioned this in other videos, experimental vaccine. African children, that's all I have to say. If they die, who cares? Their life's worthless, right? I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that that's how people like Bill Gates and the Melinda Gates Foundation, who carry out this research, do. They go to those countries, test them, pay them, whatever, pennies on the dollar, because that's what they'll take. And then when they die, oh well, nobody really cares. And then the next trial run is, guess what? Central or Asia, and then Central Europe, and then it moves on to America. So you guys are lab rats too. Levitating nanoparticles may make for better geoengineering. And you can look at this, talking about a recent analysis of geoengineering options. It says, while pumping chemicals into the upper atmosphere would work, the approach comes with significant risk. And I always talk about this as if it's not happening. I love that. Since the chemicals would gradually come back out of the atmosphere, these schemes would require constant input to remain effective. A paper released in PNAS this week suggests that there might be a lower effort alternative, nanoparticles that are structured in a way that helps them control their altitude. Well, understand this, guys. Those particles that are up there, they will stay up there for years, decades. The particles that they're spraying in the planes, there's so many up there now, they could be up there for years. That's crazy. I mean, there's probably particles from 96, from the 70s floating around up there. Iran's fuel blockade raises food prices, tensions in Afghanistan. Afghan protests over last month's long-near blockade of the cross-border fuel shipments spread to western city of Herat, while hundreds of demonstrators gathered outside the Iranian consulate and set fire to the country's flags. Next up is killings of newborn babies on the rise in Pakistan. The lifeless bodies of 2 tiny babies are being given their final bath before burial in Karachi after they were left to die in the southern Pakistani city's garbage dumps. Next up is U.S. drone strike kills 5 Pakistanis. Magnitude 7.2 quake strikes Pakistan. Poll U.S. support for Afghan war drops. 1/3 of all U.S. military deaths in 9-year Afghan war happened in 2010. It says here, Alexander Landau got pulled over for an illegal left turn and ended up beaten bloody by police. Up here, Utah's $1.5 billion cybersecurity center underway. So, talking about a $1.5 billion NSA data center. And, wow, it says it'll bring 5,000 to 10,000 new jobs. So I guess that legitimizes it and everything's good. It's good for the economy, right? You can join us in part 2. We're going to talk about how basically they're coming up with a spy blimp in Utah. This is GGN, and I'm Darko. Thank you.